Hey, what's going on, everybody? Because I'm a Fury here. And take a second to read the awnings above my head and to the side of me. And it says definitely what I've been feeling from the jump since the day I played the demo. Resident Evil 7 is not that good. Okay? And what I say from here forth is my opinion, and you can comment with any juvenile response. And look, let me get on that for one goddamn second too. Yes, you can comment with any juvenile response, but think about this. When did it become fucking a problem for people to lay their opinions out there? Yes, when you put your opinions out there, it's subject for scrutiny and stuff, but people get very, very emotional. I am not offending you personally. People like what they like, okay? You know, some dudes out there like fat girls, all right? Some women out there like husky guys with hairy bodies. You get what I'm saying, all right? You can disagree with it. Let me know why. But let me get into why I think Resident Evil 7 is not that good, all right? All right, every time we hear about the reboot, about Resident Evil 7, it's like, oh, it's returning to horror. Oh, yes, and it's first person now and stuff, so you're submerged into the atmosphere and stuff like that. I played this game before. Alright? I played this game before. Something like that, kind of. Borrows elements from that. And everybody knows the other game it borrowed from, Outlast. But yeah, man. This is not Resident Evil. Alright? And Capcom, come on now. We know about the Evil Dead references, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We know about all that stuff. That's all well and good that you openly admitted to borrowing from those, but let's break it down to why I feel a certain way about it. You can borrow all you want. That is not Resident Evil. Resident Evil is a game that other companies borrowed from. All of them. It inspired other companies, and you got to be fucking kidding me if I'm gonna be totally okay with Capcom taking Resident Evil into this direction where it borrows from everything else instead of being the trendsetter it was in the 90s. When the first Resident Evil came out, there was nothing like it at all. There was no type of game that played like it. With the tank controls, yeah, with the mansion suspension, the horror and stuff. Like, it wasn't like, oh my god, it's like super graphic one, but it was survival horror. You had the zombies, you had the zombie dogs, you had the fucking hunters that was ridiculous. You had the Chimera that when you got in the steam room, you had a lot of enemies to face, like the bosses, like giant spider, the snake. It had a wide array of enemies in the game. And then it had the tyrant, okay? And you had to hoard your ammo. You had to be really smart about it because you wasted all your bullets killing zombies, regular zombies. When you get to the hunters, what do you have left? All right, you try to avoid the zombies. You try to use your low power weaponry on them, like the handgun or so, because the hunters will need every shotgun shell you got, every magnum round and stuff. And then if you wasted on the hunters, which is good, you wasted on them, what about what you're going to do later on in the game against the Chimera, against the tyrant? That was survival horror, alright? You know, now we got this bullet crafting stage where we got Ethan Winters out of nowhere who's looking for his wife Mia and stuff. So out of nowhere, this guy knows how to mix chem fluid with gunpowder to make enhanced bullets and stuff. What the fuck? Really? For a Joe Nobody, how is this possible? This is where the storyline is shit, alright? The storyline really is shit. Alright. It is. This game definitely feels like it is a different type of game altogether, and 60% through the process, what we're gonna do? Slap Resident Evil on the label. Boom. Let's put a umbrella logo on the helicopter and stuff, and have one character say he's Chris Redfield, and boom, now it all comes full circle. I'm not falling for that. That doesn't make it a Resident Evil game. It does not feel like it, and it goes far beyond being in first person. Okay, it goes far beyond that. It's tainted. How can I say it's tainted in the fact that it's too dependent on multiple sources, like games like Outlast, Condemned. Where's the Resident Evil in this? Alright? It does not feel like Resident Evil, and it never will to me. Anybody else like, oh, it's a journey back into survival horror? Really? When you used to facing one guy walking around trying to kill you, as in Jack Baker, and then he spawns into some gigantic creature with a whole bunch of eyeballs on him, and then his wife turns into an insect woman with fucking insects coming out of her pussy. Just because you make weird bioweapons like Resident Evil 5 and 6 doesn't make this game Resident Evil. And let me get this straight. How did they create, whoever the fuck, create a bioweapon as a little girl who has mold that affects people differently without no goddamn explanation? This game is fucking stupid. The storyline is stupid at all. And I'm not saying the game sucks, alright? It actually looks like it can be some kind of fun. But can it be Resident Evil fun for me? Fuck no. No, it's not. Alright? But let's get back into Evelyn. Alright? She can control people's mind. And there's a part in the game where Ethan is talking to Jack Baker. Consciousness, what is it? Inside the mold? Is his mind still in the mold? They don't explain none of this dumb shit. It's just so fucking stupid, man. Leave the supernatural shit for Dean and Sam Winchester. This is Resident Evil. This is grafted in science. Bioweaponry. You make bioweaponry that can control your mind, that can control people's mind, and then it mold, and then it can turn people into mold by remote control through the mind. Get the fuck out of here. This is so stupid, man. I'm sorry if I keep saying stupid, because it's stupid. Oh, man. I'm not even faking this. The more I think about it, the more it drives me fucking insane. Like, I have nothing else to really say about the Evelyn feature. And it was so predictable about when you finally read the letter saying like, what's up with your bioweapon? She's getting these gray hairs and she aging kind of fast and stuff like that. For that moment I was like, it's the old lady. Evelyn is the old lady. She's the only one that doesn't fit out of the Baker family. It was so obvious. And then let's talk about finding letters around the place. When you found scriptures to read, it absolutely made no fucking contribution to the game storyline at all, really, except some of the things where Lucas had kept a tally of who died and who turned to the molded and stuff, and that was about it. It was only most of the scripture and the literature you found, like notes from people, made no goddamn sense. It didn't really contribute to nothing. Alright? Whereas Resident Evil 1 was like, okay, you know, this, that, and the other. One guy was right. They had a guy writing in his diary as he was turning into the undead. He's like, and he was losing his intelligence, and he was like, he ate someone's face, tasty, blah blah blah. Remember that? Remember Resident Evil 2 when Ada was like, I'm looking for John. He worked for Umbrella and stuff. That was her contact. That she was sleeping with him to get information from Umbrella. Then you find out that John didn't make it. If you look back in Resident Evil 1, he was one of the researchers in the mansion and stuff. So that's what does Resident Evil 7 really has to say. But my name's Redfield. He don't even call himself Chris Redfield anymore. Every time we meet Chris, he says, I'm Chris Redfield. That's what had people like, this isn't Chris Redfield at all. And Capcom was like, look, because we used the whole photo thing where every character in this game for the most part looks like a legitimate actor. And I've seen a picture of the guy who Chris is patterned after and stuff. You know, it goes beyond that. It just doesn't feel right. It just feels like this game, the whole Umbrella aspect was slapped in at the last moment. It, you know, and then you name the gun Albert. Whoop de fucking do. You know, then people on the internet, oh my god, that means we date him on the game. Does that mean Albert Wesker's coming back? No, I don't want fucking Albert Wesker back. Alright? And it's funny like they would name the gun after him because I guess they trying to say, you know, this, I don't know. It just doesn't add up. The whole storyline does not fit in to the Resident Evil universe at all. Just because you have one familiar character doesn't mean shit. And watch in a couple of months when Resident Evil Vendetta, the CG movie, comes out, which takes place between 6 and 7. Watch how that still carries the tradition of the Resident Evil CG film series and the feel of Resident Evil 5 and 6. Now, Resident Evil 6 wasn't that great of a game, but because it tried to do so much, you had like 3 different types of gameplay aspects in it. I would have liked Resident Evil 6 more if it played like the first stages, if the rest of the game stayed like the first stage with Leon and Helena, and then the elevator, and then the daughter just turns to a zombie slowly, eats her father, then they gotta fight him off for that. That's that kind of shit. You know, I know it's jump scares like anybody else, but there was some horror to the game. The death scenes were fucked up. You got pushed into a fucking shredder. It's different things. All you do is with Ethan, and you're dead. Like, it was so cheaply put together. And thank God it was cheaply put together, because believe it or not, this game is not selling as great as Resident Evil 5 and 6. After all the shit the fans talked about this game returning to its roots, I don't know why. I still don't have any answers why this game isn't selling that great. It recouped the production cost, but as for making a substantial profit, no, not yet. I don't think it will. Alright? Think about this in Japan. Resident Evil 6 sold almost 700,000 copies its first week in Japan. You want to know how much Resident Evil 7 sold? About 184,000 copies. So Resident Evil 6 sold about 680 something thousand copies. And then Resident Evil 7 sold about 180 something thousand copies. So it sold about, Jesus Christ, 3 times as much. 3.5 times, roughly 3 times as much. And this is the return to horror. It's not doing as great as it should be doing in America because it's supposed to be the return to horror. This game is patchwork. This game is swagger jacking at the highest. All right, it doesn't feel scary. It's tense. It's like me playing what game again? It's like me with all the enemies. When the molded is pretty much, oh, you got to aim at the head. You know what makes that game? You know what makes it tense when you facing against the molded? What makes it tense is the fact that they can move at the last moment. Oh, I wonder what game they got that from. Yeah, Resident Evil 5. You know. So, ooh, back to horror. No, like they do the same. They kind of do the same thing. It's just the fact that you took the look of the enemies from Resident Evil Revelations, which was probably a much better game than this, and then you added some goo all over their body, some black mist and stuff like that. Like this was such even the enemies had like you got one fat bloated one. Yeah, I've seen a fat bloated zombie in Resident Evil 5 and 6. So oh yeah, let's put one in Resident Evil 7, but we're gonna make it spit up bile and we gonna do it. It's doing it. It's not any different really how the tricks they are trying to use. It does nothing new. It's not doing nothing new. This is supposed to be something new. The only new thing about it is the characters and the perspective, really. And I know I'm contradicting myself by saying, you know, you just said that Resident Evil 7 borrows from so many things. Yeah, it does borrow from like the Evil Dead, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Outlast, all this other stuff. Yes. And yes, it's good that it borrows from its past games, but don't sit here as fans and be totally okay with it borrowing from Resident Evil 5 and 6, and then everything else, but not being a trendsetter and really taking the series back to survival horror and stuff. There's parts in the game, like when the GameCube version of Resident Evil came out, and remember the part when you walking down the hall and you coming back and you know the dog is going to jump out the window at you and stuff, and you wait and you playing the GameCube version and you like, tick, and you just see a crack in the glass and that's it, because they knew that that's how you reboot the game. Like that, I mean, that's how it got those who jumped in. You don't know what's going on. You thought because the remake was going to do the exact same thing and it flipped it and stuff. Resident Evil 7 doesn't have that. These backgrounds are terrible. If you're in an environment and you see black mold on the wall, you know molded is about to just generate somewhere around there. You know that. You just know it's gonna generate. So how is that even scary? All you have to do is be ready, and once you play the game enough, you kind of get a, you kind of get a grasp of it. All right. And yes, it's like that with any other Resident Evil games, except for 4, 5, and 6, which is ironic that people complain about 5 and 6 so much, but the enemies kind of behave differently and they can spawn in different areas and can attack you in different ways, and if you low on ammo and stuff, and they can come through certain ways. It's the enemies were better, like the AI. It was more of them on the screen. The AI was better. How could Resident Evil 7 be built on next gen platforms and it looks as horrible as it does? It just looks terrible, man. It just does. And I've seen the videos of Single Nacho, I believe his name is, picking the game apart and exploring it, showing you in third person how things go. And yes, I know it's a headless character because they want to just show you, they want to put the camera right there. I'm not mad about the character being headless. The game was meant to be in first person. I'm mad that the environments look as terrible as they do and stuff. How can a game like Resident Evil 6, Resident Evil 5, Resident Evil 4 be on last gen platform, have so many enemies that can pop up on the screen at the same time, have so much more play mechanics because you got third person, and be a more action based game and still look much better than this shit? This is unexcusable, man. And I'm sorry to say that. To me it is. It's just like, I can go on, but you know what? I'm done talking about this game. It is not that good. They borrowed too much. I don't know what else to do. See, the camera's opposite, so if I point here, it's like that. So it just borrowed too much stuff, and it failed to make its own path like Resident Evil 1 did. And I'm not saying return to Resident Evil 1 and give me the exact same game. I'm saying Resident Evil 1 was groundbreaking. This supposed to have been the return to horror, and it was everybody else's shit. Alright? It was everybody else. It was just a smorgasbord of shit that people have played before. Should have taken some time, really went back into putting this game together and stuff. This game should have been like Resident Evil 1 and Lost in Nightmare. The Resident Evil 1 and Lost in Nightmares got together and had a love child. Something like that. 6 tried it with the Leon part at the beginning, and then it just went into its typical action that part 5 started and 4 started too, in a sense. It just went into that. But I was hoping that this game would be the Lost in Nightmares expansion pack, the DLC, where you were in the environment, your ammo got lost, you had to survive giant bioweapons that would kill you easily if you're not smart, and you had to outrun them. And there was a lot of things I was hoping that this game would do, but all you just do is just face the same molded. What happened to the creatures that they said that they scan pictures of meat so they can make these horrible, horrific looking characters? Remember that was said about production? None of that happened. They was taking pictures and doing face scans, and people look like, and they had zombies, and they was doing that for the game. Where all that go? You just cut all that and made it incomplete. You did a Konami Metal Gear Solid on this one. That's what it seems like it's done. Nothing's in this game. This game is, it feels like it was just sewn and stitched together, and they just threw a Resident Evil patch on this game. And that's how I feel about it in a nutshell. So anyway, as usual, this is the end, and I'm gonna tell you, keep watching what you want, keep gaming the way you want, keep being you, because I'm a Fury. I'm out. Resident Evil 7 is just not that good for me or to me. And let me know what you like best about this game. I respect that you like this game. I'm not here trying to change your opinion. I'm just venting and ranting how I feel about it and why this game upset me more than enjoyed it. made me enjoy it, because it wasn't enjoyable for me. So anyway, peace out. Have a good night or day. I'm filming this at night, so I'm saying have a good night. Peace out, people.